Welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this channel is where I share with you my works in progress, finished projects, things I'm cooking up, books I'm reading, funny things my kids may say. My hope is that as you watch this episode and the previous episodes that you find some inspiration along the way. This is episode 75, and we are in December year 2021. I don't remember which day it is, but I believe we're finishing up the first week of December, and it is a very cold day today. We woke up with a fresh dusting of snow, and with the wind, it is currently minus, I think 13 or 14 the last I checked, Fahrenheit, which I'm not very good at converting things to Celsius, but I think, is that close to like minus 30 Celsius? Something like that, possibly. So yes, it is very chilly. Today we're actually having some sun, which is why I thought maybe it'd be a good day to record. It can be a little tricky with lighting sometimes when it's really dark, but and then as you may know, daylight hours are a bit short this time of year, so I thought I would take advantage of this sunny but very cold day. I have several things to chat with you today. You can see here on my side I have an assortment of project bags with lots of exciting things in them. I think I grabbed everything. I think so. If not, I might have to take a quick break somewhere to go grab anything else that I might have forgotten. As far as finished projects go, oh, that's what I forgot. I might have to go get some of those finished projects in a minute. And I do have several works in progress to share with you. Some I may have talked about in the previous episode that I was going to cast on. Some of them, I don't know if I talked about all of them. So there might be some new ones in here that I hadn't mentioned on my Instagram or here on my YouTube channel yet. So that's exciting. And then I have a couple of projects that are kind of coming up soon. Depending on when I record next, they may be things that I talk about then, or yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see how I feel when I get to that part of this episode. So usually I start out with finished projects, I go into works in progress, and then sometimes I talk about random other things interspersed in there. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. If you are brand new here, that's kind of in a nutshell what you will find in my episodes. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. As you know, all my videos are fully captioned, and there's that CC button that you can click on for captions. And I do provide links in the description box below this video. Sometimes you have to click on show more to see the rest of the text in that box. I do usually have Ravelry project pages also in there, but those are marked specifically for Ravelry. Yeah, so let's get started. So I thought I would start with sharing what I am wearing today. This shawl is the Luminaria shawl. I tested this for Lindsay of Larkspur Knits. Was it last year or 2 years ago? You know, these years during a pandemic, the time kind of goes in a really strange way, so I'm not sure if this is a 2019 or 2020 knit, but I absolutely love it. It was designed to be used with mini skeins or advent minis or just small bits of yarn that you may have left over from previous projects. And that last one is basically what I knit mine out of. I am an autumnal palette girl year-round, and I picked colors that reminded me of like pumpkin spice, gingerbread, autumn leaves, those crunchy leaves that you walk through, the changing colors, hot chocolate. I'll hold it up closer so you can see it a little bit better. I love this shape. It's a triangle shape, and it's got a very interesting lace edging with, I think it's a picot bind off. And this is a shawl that has a right side and a wrong side. So the back looks like this. And I mention that only because, you know, if you knit like a garter shawl or wrap, that there's really no right side, wrong side, because both sides look the same. But in this it does look different on the front and the back. I love that it kind of resembles stained glass, or even kind of reminds me a little bit of cross stitching. Yeah, I really like it, and it's super wearable. The other piece that I'm wearing is this cream colored vest. This cabled piece was knit by my mom in the 1970s. She knit it flat on straight needles, so it is seamed together. There are buttons just along the bottom here, and it's got big wide armholes. It's perfect for layering. It's knit in like a very woolly wool, and it has it's in great condition. I think she had kept it in like just like a regular plastic bag, nothing fancy, and she says she used to knit on the train to and from work as like a stress reliever and to pass time. And the winters, though, don't get as cold as here. It's like a wet cold in Taiwan. So my parents are both from Taiwan, and it's a very tropical climate. And in the winter, it can get cold, but not like, it doesn't snow, but unless you're really high up in the mountains. But it's a very damp, wet cold. And so yeah, she knit this layering piece, and she doesn't knit anymore, but she still appreciates knits. I knit her socks all the time. Socks were not something that she said she had knit before. And so I have this piece and then one other sweater. I think she said she has like 3 or 4 garments. One, she says she's not sure where it is, and the other one might be back in Taiwan. But I cherish this hand knit so much because I did learn to knit from my mom, and just to have a piece that she made in the 70s and that she wore, and you know, that would be before she knew that, you know, someone might be wearing her knits in the future. So it's just very special. So yes, I'm wearing this over a linen dress with leggings and this shawl, and then the next item that I'm wearing will just take us right into the finished projects. So my first finished project are a pair of socks. Love the length of them. I think what I'm gonna do is insert photos on the screen here to better share with you what the socks look like on my feet and not on my feet. So they will be on the screen here. So these socks I knit using yarn dyed by Michelle of Woolens and Nosh. Let me just get the tag here for you. Here's her ball band and logo. And the yarn is 75% superwash Corriedale, 25% nylon. It's a 3-ply, 383 yards, over 100 grams. This colorway I used is called Pressed Flowers. And this particular sock set, I think is part of her Kiss collection. Is it Keep It Simply Striped? Keep It Striped Simply? Something like that. But they are priced less. They usually are just, I think, 3 color repeats, and the main color, I think, is it 70 or 75 grams, and the contrast color is 25 or 30 grams. I can't remember exactly, but it does come as a sock set. So since when I knit my socks, I never use 100 grams of a main color, these sets work really well for me, and I like to use up as much of what I have as possible. And so I ended up weighing out my yarns because I like to knit my socks 2 at a time on their own needles. A lot of times I use 9-inch circulars, sometimes I do 32-inch cable magic loop, but most of the time it's 9-inch circulars. So I just recorded a video showing you how I prepare my self-striping yarn to knit my socks, and you don't have to do 2 at a time to do this method. You could just do it to do 1 at a time, but to make sure that you have enough yarn for your second sock. And then it kind of talks about my thought process about how I want my socks to look at the end. Do I want them identical? Do I want them fraternal? Do I want them one going one direction as far as striped sequins go and the other go in the other direction? Just things to think about. So let me flip to my project page here in my notebook. Okay, so since it was a little bit of a heavier fingering weight yarn, I decided to use US 1.5s, which are 2.5 millimeter needles. And my gauge, I don't think I measured my gauge after. Before blocking, I think it was close to 8 stitches per inch. So after blocking, it might have been 7.5 stitches per inch, maybe. I don't know. But I did end up starting, okay, so I started with 83 grams of my main color on this one and 28 grams of my contrast color. And I will say I've purchased a few of these sets and the grams aren't always the same. But I did end up using almost all of the main color on this one. And it's not that I was necessarily playing yarn chicken. I was weighing my yarn after a round or even after 5 rounds or whatever to know how far I can get for however many grams. Does that make sense? So basically I was keeping track of how much yarn I was using and then looking at how long of a leg I was getting or how much I was using in a heel, things like that. And that helps me estimate how long I should knit my leg, because my foot length isn't going to change, right? My foot length is kind of set, but my leg length and my cuff length can change. So if I need X amount of grams reserved for my feet, then I know how much I have left to knit my leg. Oh, and then I guess I should note that I'm knitting them cuff down. Now if you knit toe up, then you just stop, right, whenever you run out of yarn. But if you knit cuff down, I feel like you need to maybe plan a little bit more or be okay with potentially running out of yarn in the feet and then just finishing off with whatever contrast color you want, which also is just fine. So this is how much yarn I had left of my main color. And that's what? I think it was like 2 grams. 2 grams left. And my contrast color, I had quite a bit left of my contrast color because I didn't use much of it in the sock. I only used a little bit in the cuff and my heels, but I do have plans to use this in my husband's Christmas socks that I will share with you later because I may or may not run out of yarn. So saving this for that. I'll put these aside here. So what I did for this these socks is with the contrast color, I did an old Norwegian cast on, also known as a German twisted cast on, and I cast on 56 stitches. So I have an 8-inch foot circumference, I wear a US 7 women's shoe, and my foot length is 9.25 inches. I share that information with you just so you can better maybe get an idea of how much yarn you might use for your own pair of socks or if you're knitting for somebody else. It just kind of gives you a good point of reference, I think. So yes, I cast on 56 stitches, and again, this is using the US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter needles. And then I did a 2x2 ribbing, which is knit 2, purl 2, and I did that for 2 rounds using my contrast color. Maybe I'll take off my sock so it's a little bit easier to have a visual. Okay, there we go. And I don't always weave in all my ends because I just tuck them into my sock. And okay, so let's see. And then I stopped my contrast color and joined my main color. And I have a video showing you how I knit this cuff without having the purl bump color show through on the color change. And I will link to that in one of the corners here up on the screen. I never know which corner it's going to show up on. It's on one of the corners. So yeah, so I did that. And then after I got, I think about 19 or 20 rounds of the cuff, I knit a long leg. And how many rounds did I do? I think 80, about 80 rounds here until I finished a color basically. And then I did a shadow wrap heel, which is a short row heel, and I followed the tutorial by Denise of Earth Tones Girl, and I did that in my contrast color. Once I finished that, I picked up my main color again, and then I knit all the way through the foot. And I think I ended up doing 60 rounds before I did my toe. And yeah, so these fit really, really well. You know, I've been wearing them around, and I think they're a superwash Corriedale and I find them maybe warmer than my superwash merino. I don't know for sure, but I don't know. I feel like they're, even though they are superwash, they're not as slick feeling, and they're slightly toothier, but not like woolly wool. Definitely not like non-superwash. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I really like the feel of them in hand when I'm knitting, and I really like the feel of them on my feet. I do find them very warm in a good way. I need warm socks here, and I really like that they're longer. I prefer wearing long socks over black leggings, and I like when they kind of hit mid-calf or a little past that, and they just stay up really nice. They go well in my boots, and yeah, that's all I've got to say on those socks. I really like them. Okay, the next set of finished projects I'd like to share with you are the Marled family hat. I test knit this pattern for Julie of Twin Stitches Designs, and I found it the perfect gift knit pattern. So I had a lot of them to make, and I will share with you the different variations, and they will be getting mailed off soon, so this is perfect timing to share them with you. So I shared a few with you last time, and here are some more. So this one, I guess I should start over. I did talk about this hat pattern in the previous episode, so I will link to that in one of the corners up here, just to not go over all the details again. But you do hold fingering weight double, you hold 2 strands, and with that you can create so many different fabrics. This particular one, I knit very subtle stripes. I'm not sure if it'll show on camera, but basically I have a cream color that I held throughout, and then I alternated this speckly seafoam green with a speckly light blue, and then did the same number of rounds for each section in the body of the hat, the stockinette portion of the hat, and that created very subtle striping. So that's one. And then this one, I had used this yarn in a previous pair of socks, so they were already wound, I think, in 2 separate balls, and it's variegated plummy purple. It has these gorgeous shades of purple and red wine in them, and so I held those 2 together, which can break up some of the pooling of color. I mean, it still did it a little bit, not in a bad way, but it can create kind of fun designs on the pattern. So this hat can be worn slouchy with the brim unfolded, or with it slightly more fitted with the brim folded. And it just also depends on how long you want to knit the ribbing for. But yeah, so I have that one. And then this one I knit with a single ply speckled yarn held with a heathered solid yarn, and that created a really beautiful, very drapey soft fabric. So this teal with the blue speckles, very classically marled, I think. And this last one, I also held a teal and a blue, but this time I did a merino yak blend, and they're the same for both yarns, and they are both solid, and so that gives a really fun effect for how the colors show up, because when you marl it, basically one color will be more in front than the other for each stitch, and you don't change that on purpose. I guess you could, but it seems like that would be very tedious. So you just kind of let it do its thing, and then whatever comes out is whatever comes out. So yeah, those are 4 marled hats that need to get mailed off ASAP. Just with potential delays and in shipping, and not wanting to be worried about things getting anywhere on time, and yeah, I need to get those out. My goal every year is to have all my gifts done by the end of November and ship everything out the first week of December. I mean, it doesn't always happen, but that's like the general idea of where I'm going with stuff like that, and then it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, and yeah, because life happens, right? The next finished projects I'd like to share with you are 2 sewing projects. I am a very seasonal person. I don't always do a lot of seasonal decor necessarily, unless it's Christmas, you can see by the tree behind us. But I do love me some seasonal project bags. I think it just kind of puts you in the mood for different projects, and for me, it also helps me remember what's in the project bag. I am not a monogamous knitter or maker, and so I tend to have a lot of projects going on simultaneously, and it's just kind of fun. So I did not follow a pattern or a tutorial or anything. These are kind of a pretty, I don't want to say standard, but I mean, it's a drawstring project bag, box bottom. You could probably Google it and find pictorial or video tutorials on it. But yeah, I like to include a little like jump ring or something in the inside so that I can hang progress keepers on, light bulb stitch markers, things like that. But yeah, I really wanted to sew up some holiday-ish ones, and so I did. Let's see. This one I did different on the front and back. So I did patchwork on the front. There's this kind of like vintage holiday print, and then these holly berries. And then on the back, there's these evergreen trees and bare branch trees and snow and cardinals. I just love them. So I think with that, we will go into works in progress so I can show you what's in these bags. So I think I will do this one first. Oh, aren't those clothespin dolls so cute? I just love it. Okay, so in this project bag, I have yarn from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad sock set. And it is the last one of the year. So I had subscribed to Candace's monthly sock club, and this was my first year doing it. I don't remember how many years she's done the Sock Squad club. I think a few years. But she rotated through 4 different bases of yarn, and each one comes with a full skein and a mini skein. And you don't know the colorway ahead of time. She did rotate through the bases, I think, in the same order. So I kind of knew what was coming as far as base goes. They're all fingering weight. But one is like an 80-20 superwash merino nylon. One is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon. And then the other one is I don't remember the percentages, but merino yak nylon base. And I have not been disappointed at all. I mean, all of them, all the colorways are so much fun. This Marled hat I knit out of 2 of the yak bases. The teal was from, I think, a May colorway, and then this beautiful navy vibrant blue was from November's, I believe. And a lot of them go together. They don't necessarily have to. It's just if you want to pair it that way. But I've had so much fun knitting up all the colorways, and I've done it every single month and kept up with it, and I have signed up for 2022. It is just such a nice and fun way to treat myself into something that I know I'm going to use. So I'm going to share with you what I am knitting up with December's colorway. I will show you what the main skein looks like first. So it's kind of got a light cool pink base with blue and green and like vibrant dark red. And the dark red, it was kind of in a bigger chunk is not the right word, but a bigger like paint splotch. That's also not very enticing sounding. I don't know what you call it. I'm not a dyer, so I don't know the words, but there was like a big red spot on it. And so to me, that says you're gonna end up with some potential micro striping or just like lines of just red, because your yarn will have more red for a longer section. And this is how they are knitting up. So it's not quite full micro striping where you have it go all the way around, because I think the red didn't cover as big of a splotch. Again, my very technical terms. Yeah, I should just stop trying to explain what that means. The contrast color was this vibrant, beautiful green. So I did my peekaboo fold over cuff. I will link to that in one of the corners up here. Basically, there's no purling. You just start knitting with your contrast color. Oh, these are for my daughter. So I cast on 52 stitches. I'm using a US 1 or 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circulars. And I cast on Old Norwegian cast on with my contrast color. I did 52 stitches. And then I knit for 16 rounds. Then I cut my contrast, joined my main color. I knit 12 rounds. Then I folded them in half, knit to the cast on edge, and then kept going. So for this one, I knit 40 rounds for the leg, and then I put in a shadow wrap heel, and then now I'm on the foot. I have on a Christmas tree or evergreen tree with a gemstone here, and this Progress Keeper is by my friend Maria of Woolen Forest. Her Etsy shop is Forest Charm, and I just love her progress keepers and stitch markers. She's inspired by nature, and she just puts together really fun and beautiful combinations of gemstones to charms. So I am knitting these 2 at a time, and I need to catch up now on the second sock on the foot. So that's kind of how I like to do it. I like to do one section and then kind of get the other one going, and then do some of the leg, do the other one. So maybe it's like 10 rounds on each one, whatever, just so that they're always kind of in the same section. I find that for me this way, if my tension changes or whatever the case may be, at least they still match that way. I also feel like I don't ever get second sock syndrome, knock on wood, because I am knitting them at the same time. And also then I'm not like finishing one sock and then thinking, oh, now I gotta knit the same thing all over again. Instead, it's just knitting 2 cuffs, 2 legs, 2 heels, and on and on. Some people knit 2 at a time on one long needle. I did try that one time, and I did not love it. I just felt lopsided. And plus, if I decided I wanted to take my socks out somewhere or work on them, maybe to save space or whatever, I would just want to bring one sock. If I had them 2 at a time on one long cable, I would still have to bring, everything with me, versus just like one sock. Yeah, it just felt lopsided. I didn't love it, but maybe I'll try it again one day. I don't know. There's also the potential for yarn to get tangled, and I don't know. I really like it this way, and it's working for me. And if I remember correctly from my tennis coach back in high school, you change a losing game and you don't change a winning game. Is that how? It sounded a lot better, like a lot smoother maybe than what I'm remembering now, but something along those lines. So I'm hoping to have these socks done by Christmas Eve. Last year, I believe I had the kids' Christmas socks done earlier so they could wear them at the start of Advent season, but this year that did not happen, and that's okay. Also, because kids have growth spurts, and both of my kids have had quite the growth spurts lately, and I didn't want to knit socks too early and then have them not fit. Anyone relate to that? So the next pair of Christmas socks I would like to share with you are a pair that I'm knitting for my husband. Now these are knit out of Woolens and Nosh. Here is the ball band. It is 90% superwash targhee, 10% nylon, 3-ply, 411 yards for 100 grams. And this colorway is Mr. Fezziwig. And I had recorded a video on how I prepare my yarn for these. And so I have these 2 balls here. This one is cut because I haven't joined it yet. But it's got this beautiful dark red, a foresty green, and a cream. I don't know if the cream is undyed or not. I'm not very good at telling that. So I have one of them. Oh, here's the contrast color. It's like a very pale minty green. No, not pale, because if I think of a pale minty green, I'm thinking like much more white in it. I don't know, it's a light green. So I have it here in this DPN Cozy, just so things don't fall off and get tangled. And here's the very start of the cuff. And for his socks, let me see what I wrote down here. I am doing the Old Norwegian cast on, and I am using US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter needles. I have found that the socks that I knit my husband with that size needle instead of a US 1 just seems to fit him really well. And I cast on 64 stitches. With the contrast color, I am doing a 2x2 knit 2 purl 2 rib for 20 rounds, and then I will join my main color. So I've got my other sock a little farther ahead, so I will show you that one once I put this one away. So once I finished the cuff on this one, I switched to 9-inch circulars. I don't always do that. I just felt like doing that this time. I don't always love purling on 9-inch circulars. It's just, I'm a thrower, but I just don't like necessarily how it feels. I'll do it, but if any sock has more patterning to it, a lot of times I like to use the magic loop. But yeah, if I'm knitting just stockinette or round and round, I really like the 9-inch circulars. I like how they feel in hand. So I finished the cuff here, and I did that all on magic loop, and then I cut that and joined my main color, and now I am on 9-inch circulars. And I've got another cute little progress keeper on here by Maria. This one is a fawn from the little dots on its back. And I believe the red stone is jasper? I think so. And I decided to knit these identical, or as identical as I can make them, so they will both start with dark green at the top. And this one, I started with, I think, like 71 grams of the main color and then 25 grams of the contrast color. So if I run short, I will pull that taupe color from my pressed flowers socks contrast color and then use that for the toe, maybe, if I need to. I also thought it could be fun to put that in for the heel, maybe, since the green, or no, for the heel, since it is more contrasty, like none of the colors are that brownish taupey color, so maybe I'll put that in for the heel and then save the rest of the green for toes. I don't know. We shall see. That one I'm also hoping to have done by Christmas Eve, but yeah, no hurry. If I don't finish, I'm just gonna put the work in progress in his stocking with an IOU. I have a pair of Advent socks that I'm knitting for myself, and these are also by Michelle of Woolens and Nosh, and they are her, oopsies, let's see if I can get this out without tangling things. They are her first year doing self-striping Advent socks. So she had listed a few after all of her main ones were sold as like seconds. So these were shorts, which meant that they weren't a full 100 grams to start. And I think they started at maybe 80. I think 80. Although when I measured mine, I don't think mine came out to be quite 80. Because what's 38 plus 40? 38. Oh, that's pretty close to 80. So mine started at 78 grams as the main color, but my contrast color was about 25 grams. So, which is plenty for me to make a pair of socks. She dyed 24 different colors, and if you have the full skein, you'll have 2 repeats of the fingering weight. If you have the DK weight version, you have 1 repeat of all those colors, and then if you have the shorter version like I do, you might have like 1.5. So I'm going to show you what I have knit so far, but I will warn you that it may be a spoiler if you are knitting the same Advent and your color sequence is starting in a different spot. So yeah, if I am able to, I will put a timestamp on the screen here on when to jump to if you don't want to see. Ta-da! So from what I'm seeing on Instagram, other people are starting with pink and maybe grays, and mine is starting looking like a rainbow and then going retro. So as I mentioned in my last episode, the yarn came already in cakes. Now it has it pulling from the center, but since I didn't want to pull from the center, I rewound the balls. However, I still had the color that initially wanted me to start with the same. So I'm still knitting it in the same order it was prepped for me, but I just have them in balls instead of in cakes because I don't like pulling from the center. And yeah, so this is what I have so far, and how advent calendars work usually for self-striping is you knit one stripe a day. You don't have to do it that way. I think that's just what it is. So mine is on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just knitting it whenever I feel like it, and I am loving it. I knit a thicker cuff because that's what I like. I think I did 24 rounds of 2x2 ribbing, and I am using US 1.5 or 2.5 millimeter needles. What else? And I cast on 56 stitches. So I just love how they're turning out. The colors are so crisp. And that little white line between them, that's really fun. So we will see what 24 colors Michelle has dyed up. I mean, that's a whole lot of work and also so much fun. So I don't know when I'm gonna be back on here recording, but I am sharing some of my progress for some of these Advent related makes on my Instagram. So go check that out if that is something you're interested in. My Instagram handle is edible.thoughts.makes, and that link is also in the description box below this video. I think I have 2 more works in progress to share with you today. This next one is in a beautiful project bag by Morgan of Shop Knitting Nelly. I adore her project bags. She has such a great color and pattern sense about putting like a canvas of these beautiful fabrics together. I think she says that she comes from a family of quilters and sewists and makers, and it's just beautiful to see how she puts all these fabrics together. I just love it. She does a lot of patchwork and quilt block project bags in drawstring and zippered. I highly recommend you check her out. I think right now she's doing like small batches in her updates. She does also have 2 little kids, and so please be gentle, respectful, and mindful. Her updates do go really quick, but just remember, I mean, small businesses are not Amazon, right? Like, it's not an endless supply of stuff. Somebody is behind making all of those items and shipping and labeling and doing the listings and the photos and the measuring, and there's just so much that goes into a small business, and I highly, highly respect that. And I think, especially during the holidays when everybody can get a little bit high stress about things, it's just remember to be mindful and respectful of people. Be respectful of people, okay? That's it. I just want to put that out there. So, in this beautiful project bag, I think this one was part of a collaboration with Candace of the Farmer's Daughter Fibers from the Wisp collection. And I have a project in here that is designed by Candace of the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. I pulled up the Auntie's cowl to show you. Here is Candace's image. So it's a beautiful cowl with a twist in it that is all over colorwork. Let's see if I can show you it with her wearing it. So it's one loop, but with a twist in it. I wanted to read to you part of her inspiration. It's inspired by one of her many aunties, and this particular auntie that the cowl design was inspired by was named Joy, and she just was thinking about her many aunties and how they bring so much joy to the world in spite of hardship, and that laughter is the best medicine. And I was looking at this beautiful cowl, and it is knit in sport weight yarn. And I was thinking also about all of my aunties in my life, and blood or not blood related. And I just feel like in our culture, aunties are such a strong backbone. They cook tons of food constantly because nobody should be going hungry, and it is really important for everybody to be well fed. Food is a way to celebrate, food is a way to grieve, food is a way to show your love, and aunties are the ones that just show so much love by their actions. And I am very fortunate to have a community full of aunties, and also to have some very close girlfriends that I have grown up with, whose parents are also immigrants from Taiwan like mine, and they were also born in the US like me, and we have very similar experiences growing up, and they are aunties to my 2 children. And they are people that I chat with via text messaging every day, and it's, you know, either we're talking about our breakfast or our lunch, our dinner, our snacks, anything in between. It's usually food related, but also just like the whatevers and everything's of life. And so I am knitting one for one of them, and I don't believe she watches my channel regularly, so this shouldn't be spoiling anything, but I do want to share it with you. And I won't have this done for Christmas, but I will, you know, plan on having it done sometime early next year, maybe. Well, we shall see. There's no hurry, but I did get a start on it, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, she is someone that doesn't wear a lot of very bold colors or bright colors. She likes to keep things very simple, a little more minimalistic, and so I decided to pick colors. Oh, she also really likes things in the green family, and so I decided to pick colors that I had on hand already that would be something that she could wear kind of every day. I mean, she won't wear it every day because if it's too hot, she won't wear it, but every day as in like easy to match to things. So let me show you my colors that I'm using. I have this teal here, and because it's all over color work, I decided to pick solid colors just to have it pop more, especially since my colors aren't super high contrast. And then I have this gold, a muted gold, and then I have this very light pink. So together, let me hold them up. These are my colors. So on camera, with just the colors together, it looks higher contrast, but I feel like when you knit it up, it doesn't seem to be as high contrast. You do start with a provisional cast on, so that's what the purple yarn is on here. And here's what I've got so far. I am almost done, I think, with one color work chart. You repeat the color work chart, I don't remember how many times, but I love that each motif is pretty small and simple. There's it's like a short repeat, except for I think this part here with the flowers is a longer motif to remember, or not motif, repeat to remember. This flower motif has a longer set of stitches per repeat. There you go. And then the other ones are pretty short, which is what makes it really quick and fun, because I can just remember like 3, 2, 3, 2, or whatever it is. I've just made that up, but I love how it's coming together. I did do a quick steam blocking of this just to make sure my stitches were nice and loose and my tension was even. I'll show you the inside of it. So no puckering, no big loose floats or anything. So I am really happy with how this is coming out. It is beautiful, and I think she's gonna love it. Yeah, so that is what I'm working on for that project. I don't think I had anything else I wanted to say about it. Let me just double check here. Oh, it is knit on US size 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles, and that is what I am using on mine. You knit in the round, color work in the round, and at the end you will Kitchener it together and it'll have that little twist. So yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about that project. Mobius! That's the word I was looking for, Mobius, for that twist. Because it just like keeps going like that, but has this like fun twist in it. Mobius, there you go. So I forgot one bag, I had to go grab it. It is in this project bag, or I forgot a project. It is in this project bag that I sewed last year. It has knitting foxes and deer on it, and they have teacups, and they're knitting, and they're wearing colorwork sweaters, and it's so cute. So in this project bag, I have what I am knitting out of the yarn advent calendar I purchased from sweet, sweet, sweet River of a Knitter's Homestead. If you haven't checked out her website or her Instagram feed, I highly recommend it. She has such a beautiful nature-inspired, calm feel, and she's just a great person. So I am opening up her advent calendar, and I am not necessarily, I feel like, well, I am following it in order right now, but I'm giving myself permission to open more than of the day if I need to kind of switch things around, or even if I just feel like it. So I have the list of the colorways here, and I will share with you what I have opened so far. I don't think I have anything that's past, like way past the day right now, so it won't be giving anything away if you also have the yarn advent calendar from River of a Knitter's Homestead. So let's see if I can get these in the right order here. I have started knitting with them, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know what I am knitting, but I will let you know here. So first color is Opening Presents. It is this light pink with some green, greenish bluish speckling. Second colorway is Juniper. It is this blue toned green that is tweed. And River let me know that the fiber content, I think they're almost all Blue Face Leicester or BFL. And I believe some of the sparkle yarns, I can't remember, I think she said the sparkle yarns were merino nylon. And they're all 2-ply. The third one is Cinnamon Tea, and it is this beautiful brownish, brown-toned red. And this one has bronze stellina in it. I don't know if the sun will catch it just right, but there's a little bit of bronze stellina. And I'm not a fiber expert. I have had a few stellina sparkle yarns, and I feel like this bronze stellina is finer than the other ones. I don't know if it's because it's a darker sparkle than the gold or the silver, but it just seems to be a finer sparkle and more subtle. Oh, there, I think it caught it a little bit. There's a little bit of sparkle there. Okay, after Cinnamon Tea, we have Frozen Pond, and that's this light blue. It isn't completely solid. There's some variation to it. If it's flickering some, it's because it's sunny out and it's the sunlight is kind of dancing through whatever leaves are left on the tree outside, and so it's kind of showing up like it's flickering. Okay, after Frozen Pond, we have Candy Cane. Candy Cane is day 5, and this one has a silver sparkle to it. The Candy Cane is a light pink. It's a cool toned pink with some red and blue speckling in it. And day 6 is Hibernation, and this one's a tweed that is green with purple. Aren't they all so pretty? Now I will share with you what I am knitting up. I am knitting up the Polka Polka hat by Sachiko and Kiyomi Bergen from their Moon and Turtle pattern book. They are twin Japanese Canadians, and I love everything in this book. Everything, every pattern. So Polka Polka is an onomatopoeia word for staying warm in Japanese. Let me see if I can find the pattern here. Here it is. And there are different ways to knit this hat. So the one I'm showing on the screen here has it with the brim folded up, and you do single, like a fingering weight held on its own on one side, and then mohair held on its own for the second half of the hat. And it is double layered. You could also knit it shorter, so it's above the ears. I will not be doing that because my ears get super cold, and when it's super windy, I need all the layers over my ears possible. And so what I am doing is I'm going to knit mine a little on the longer side, and I am knitting it in stripes. I did have to modify a little bit because of gauge. They say to use a US 2.5 needle, and I didn't have that in a 16-inch, so I did a US 3, and then my gauge was way off, and I had to restart a couple of times. I ended up casting on less stitches than even the smallest size. I think there's 4 sizes in the pattern. So I ended up casting on even less stitches, but in the same increment. That way when I get to the crown decreasing section, I should just be able to do it the same way, but have less repeats. Is that right? Have less repeats for each of the decrease sections. So I'll show you what I have knit so far. Ta-da! These are the colors knit up in stockinette. So the bottom, this pink, is the day 1, and then you have the day 2 juniper tweed, day 3 cinnamon tea, day 4 frozen pond, day 5 candy cane, and then hibernation is day 6 that's being knit in right now. So the hat has you do a provisional cast on, and then you knit one half, and then you go back, pick up the provisional cast on, knit the second half. Because I'm knitting the whole thing in stripes, my thing doesn't have to be right in half. Because I was thinking I could just do days 1 through 12 on one side, and then days 13 through 24 on the other side. However, I could also just keep knitting until I feel like stopping and do maybe some rounds of stockinette on the other side, and then do the crown decreasing, and then my halfway point would just be shifted some. So it doesn't really matter. I can do it however way I want to, but I'm looking forward to this really fun stripy hat. My other thought is that if I decide I don't want to wear it as a hat, I can always just make it into a cowl, and when I'm done, just Kitchener stitch the ends together. Yeah, lots of options. We shall see what happens. So yeah, I gave myself the permission to open future colorways if I want to, and knit them in out of order striping sequence if I need to, like if certain colors I didn't prefer next to each other or whatever the case may be. But so far I am really enjoying how this is knitting up, and I think it's going to make a really, really fun hat. Last work in progress I would like to share with you. It is one that I've shared before and you've seen in multiple episodes in other renditions. It is the Half and Half Triangles Wrap by Purl Soho. It is a free pattern. I'm knitting mine in linen quill, which is Purl Soho's yarn. And this is my second one. Let's see if I have a ball band tag here. Here you go. 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, 15% linen. Here is the ball band. And the colors I'm using are dark iris and chestnut red. It is 439 yards for 100 grams. And this Peruvian yarn is not superwash. I don't find it very super prickly. It does have a little more prickle to it because of the fibers that are sticking up, but I did block my first one and I found that it helped smooth it out a little bit. The prickle didn't bother me. I felt like it was nice and warm and it was comfortable, but for some who are more sensitive to a little bit of prickle, either from, I don't know if it'd be from the wool, the alpaca, or the linen, any of them, it could bother you, so it might not be the best yarn choice for you, but I really enjoy it. So I am well into my second color, hopefully finishing up this first cake of my second color soon. This is the chestnut red. I'll hold up what's remaining of my dark iris after I finish the first half. So it's this beautiful plummy purple and this dark brown toned red. They both kind of have a heathered look to it. I love these two colors together. This version I'm calling Deep Autumn. As I mentioned, I am a very seasonal person and I love autumn. And let me see if I can hold it up without losing stitches here. This is where I'm at. So the purple triangle is all done. I'm on the second half of it, which is the red. Last I checked, I think I had 68, maybe 68 stitches left to turn, which may not seem like a lot, but on the second triangle, the end is longer than the beginning because you have knit through, like you resolved all the turns in that halfway diagonal point, and then you are growing this triangle. So you started with a few stitches and then it's getting longer and longer as you keep working each of these stitches and turning and resolving them simultaneously. Well, not simultaneously, but on like one row down, turn the stitch, one row back, work the stitch, or maybe it's the other way around. Anyway, it's all done in short rows. The pattern says wrap and turns. I'm doing German short rows, and this is where I'm at. If you wanted to learn more details about it, I will link to the finished project video of my first one up in one of these corners. It is just miles and miles of garter, all knit stitch. If that is appealing to you, this might be a great project for you. If that is not appealing to you, then don't do it. I feel like sometimes people feel pressured to make certain projects or knit certain things just because everybody else is doing it. Sorry, the sun is reflecting off the wall over there and just shining right into my face. So I have this spotlight coming on just my face. What was I saying? Oh, projects. I don't feel like everybody has to knit everything everybody else is knitting. If it is something that appeals to you, then great. If it isn't, then just move on. There are hundreds and hundreds of different projects out there. Make what speaks to you, right? I have another wonderful charm by Maria on here. Progress Creeper and Stitch Marker. This one has an oak leaf and a raw gemstone. And it matches my project, and I love it. The needle cozy I have on this one actually is made from scrap fabric that is from my baby wearing days. So I used to wear my kids a lot and be very involved in the baby wearing community. And these fabrics are from a company that is no longer, Bijou. And the owner, Jamie, would sell scrap fabrics for anybody that was crafty or wanted to make little projects. And this outside one is from one of her windmill designs. The inside is from one of her like large scale houndstooth designs. And it's kind of a fun way to keep those memories of those days and use them in another part of my crafty life. So that is this project. I calculated out about how much yarn I have left to go in this project, and I'm not playing yarn chicken, not in that sense, but more so in the sense of like how much farther I have to go until I can finish. And I'm thinking if I knit 5 to 6 grams per day, I can finish by the end of the month, and that's with a little bit of wiggle room. So I would love to have this project off the needles. Now you might be thinking, you've said a lot of these projects you'd like to have off the needles by the end of the month. Yeah, they're arbitrary deadlines. If I get them done, wonderful. If I don't, oh well. So I would love to have this done by the end of the month. I do have another one that I would love to start, but I won't share with you the colors on that yet because I really want to get this one done, and then if I cast on the other one, then I'll share with you how that one is going to go. I'm naming that one, actually, should I even tell you? Maybe I won't tell you. Teaser! Yeah, so that is that. think that is all of my finished projects and works in progress that are currently ongoing. Thank you so much for coming to chat with me today. I forgot to tell you what I'm drinking. I have hot cinnamon tea in here. It is a decaf black tea. I don't do a lot of caffeine. If I do have caffeine, I have to have it pretty early in the morning. Otherwise, I just don't sleep as well. Caffeine also makes me feel really jittery, so caffeinated teas or coffees just, have to be pretty early, and even if I have it, it has to be pretty small amounts, and then I just add milk. But did you have a beverage in hand while you chatted with me today? I'd love to hear what you were drinking. Even if it was just water, I think that's good. I've been having a water bottle that I keep refilling just to make sure I stay hydrated. I feel like in the winter, it can be hard to remember to stay hydrated because I'm just not like exerting as much energy in a way. And I'm exerting energy in a different way, but also conserving more energy as you kind of get into hibernation mode for winter time, but it's still very important to stay hydrated. I often get headaches if I don't stay hydrated. I'm also prone to ocular migraines, and just drinking water is a good idea. I think I've talked long enough. I have some projects coming up. I'm not going to share the photos of them because I feel like I might talk about them more in a future episode. I did order some yarn from Knit Picks from their recent sale for these two projects that are coming up. One of them is the watercolored pullover. It is a test knit for Tiff Nealon. And I ordered Wool of the Andes bulky yarn for that. It is a non-superwash wool. And I also have a test knit for Amy of Amy Sure Makes for her coloring book pullover. And I also ordered Wool of the Andes for that, but the Wool of the Andes in worsted weight. It is my first time working with Wool of the Andes from Knit Picks, but I have heard great reviews on it. And both of these sweaters include more than one color. And I thought that the big palette of colors to choose from Knit Picks Wool of the Andes would be a good choice for these projects. So I got them at a good price, and I am really excited for that order to arrive so I can start on those projects. I have some mystery test knits, not mystery, secret test knits that I've been working on as well, and that has been keeping me busy, and I need to get those done. I have one left, and I'm so close, so I really need to buckle down and focus on that. But yeah, so I have some sweaters coming. I'm so excited. Yeah. Do you have anything exciting coming up? Maybe it's something you're casting on today, or next week, or maybe it's dream knitting, stuff that you are looking forward to casting on or making one day, but just haven't gotten there yet. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Yeah, I think that is it. I think I'll wrap it up now. I've had plenty to say, and I have talked your ears full. So with that, cheers to being creative. I hope you are doing well and taking good care of yourself and your loved ones, and I will talk to you later. Bye.